Today we talk about how to maintain your cycling rhythm. Hello legends and super legends, welcome to Veloharmony. Today we're talking about how you maintain your cycling rhythm when you're out on the road. What does that actually mean? Before I get into that, I want to welcome Mary Johnson, our newest super legend. Mary, thanks for supporting the channel. It's people like you that enable me to keep the content flowing. And I just want to welcome you to the channel. And I hope that this channel continues to give you the information that you find useful. But let's get into this as far as maintaining rhythm. When you're on the road, and you guys have see the group rides we do, you want to keep your cadence in the range that your body has become accustomed to. And this assumes that you've done the work. You've been riding, you've got an idea of what kind of cadence you like to maintain. And so when you hook up with other riders, you don't get too excited and stray too much. What do I mean by that? Well, if you normally cruise around 80, 85 RPMs, you only want to change that range when you're with a group or other cyclists when you're accelerating, or let's say you come to a grade and you feel like for this short period, I don't want to downshift. I'm just going to power this gear for a short time. You don't want to stray from your normal range for too long because it can kind of throw you off. And what do I mean by that? You're riding down the road and you see a long climb and you don't get in the right gear. And what ends up happening is sometimes you get bogged down. And if your cadence is too low, lower than what you normally train at, you can basically get dropped, just fatigue quicker and so forth. So you want to make sure that you're carrying 8, 9, 10, 11 gears on the bike. Don't be shy to use them. Always use your gears to keep your cadence in the range that you're accustomed to. That way, when you need to accelerate, you have more in the tank because you've been in your range most of the time, and you only change your range to close gaps or change the pace or attack or whatever. You can attack with high cadence. You can attack with low cadence in a big gear. Many ways to do that. What brought this to mind was that I got an email with pictures from Abel. Abel just finished the L'Etape de Tour this year, 2018, successfully. And Abel started preparing for this July ride. I think it was July 8th. They did a stage that the professionals would do at a later date. They got to do it on the 8th of July, and he was successful. They went, I think, the Col de Croix de Fer and all of that. So they were climbing 11% grades. I mean, for long periods of time. So Abel had, I think, an 1136 on the rear, which is pretty extreme somewhat. So he had to use something to keep his derailleur cage from touching the biggest cog. Because a 36, I mean, think about it, he ran a 50-34 in the front. So his smallest ratio in the back was bigger than his inner chainring. But because of his preparation and him taking the time to get the gearing, the 36 was an extra for him because he had a 32 also. He was able to ride the steep grades, even though he's a big rider, while other people were walking. And I will put a picture that he sent me here so you guys can see. When you're prepared and you know what you're capable of. He knew he wanted to stay 70 or above RPM wise when climbing the steepest grades. And what he explained was that when he would come and catch up to another group, he knew that he could accelerate. So he would go to like 80, 85 or even 90 RPMs. And he had the acceleration he needed because he did not let his legs get all seized up by keeping his cadence low the rest of the time. Because he could sit and spin, it was a more enjoyable ride for him. And as you can see in the picture, here's other people were walking, hanging over their bikes and whatever. And so that got into my mind to say, do a video about rhythm. Paul and I talked about rhythm after last week's group ride, and so I wanted to just kind of cover that. So when you're out riding, find the rhythm your body likes. Everybody's different. You can be drafting somebody and they can be pushing a gear, and if you like to spin, you can be spinning a higher cadence. So, you know, everybody's different. Don't try to mirror what someone else is doing. Do what works for you. Know what works for you. If you don't know, go find out. So kudos to Abel for completing the Le Tape de Tour, but you deserve it because you trained during the winters when everybody else was goofing off. He was riding 10, 12 hours indoors over the course of a week. So he prepared, and because of his emphasis on base, even though later when it got closer to the event, he got busy and he missed some training, he was still able to complete it because he had his solid base. Those of you who remember the video I made about base, I'll put the link here. When your base is high enough, it can carry you a long way. And all you got to do is fine tune. So I wanted to cover that real quickly to let you guys know that when you're out there, do not hesitate to shift. Whether you shift down, if it gets real windy or a hill comes, to get yourself into your range that you like to do. Even if it means letting that group get a gap on you or letting that person who attacked go, stay within your range. Those of you who are keeping up with the tour, if you watch the guys climbing the hill, the mountains, not everybody's chasing every attack. Sometimes you let people go and you can grind them back. If you have enough power and strength and you know your capabilities, you can stay within yourself and just grind them back. So always when you ride, try to find a range that you like to be in and stick with that. If you don't know your range, look at your average cadence on your longest rides. That will give you an idea of what your body likes, okay? With that being said, make sure you keep getting those Ks in.